The alien girl stared at the human and froze. She realized the impossible was real. Eli stepped lightly over the rough terrain of the alien planet, his boots crunching against the jagged stones. The sky above was a strange shade of amber, streaked with swirling clouds that reflected the twin suns of this distant world. He had visited many planets in his life as an explorer, but this one felt different. There was a tension in the air, like the planet itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. He adjusted the straps of his backpack and scanned the horizon. In the distance, he saw a small outpost, half buried in the red dust. It was clearly abandoned, but not entirely. Something or someone was waiting there. Eli's instincts told him to be careful. He had learned long ago that in space, appearances could be deceptive. As he approached the outpost, a shadow moved across the entrance. Eli froze, his hand instinctively resting on the side of his pack. He expected a scout or a guard, but what stepped into view made him pause in surprise. She was tall, easily over 7 feet, with armor that gleamed faintly under the strange sunlight. Her skin was a pale green with faint markings that ran like lines of lightning across her arms and neck. Her eyes were sharp, almost too intelligent, scanning Eli as if she could see right through him. And in her hands she held a weapon unlike any Eli had ever seen, long, curved, and humming with a dangerous energy. "You," she shouted, her voice echoing against the rocky walls of the outpost. "You dare step onto this world." Eli opened his mouth, unsure of what to say. "I'm an explorer," he said cautiously. "I mean no harm." The alien warrior laughed, a sound that was both musical and dangerous. "Explorers," she sneered. "You are human, pathetic, weak. I am a warrior of the Valari, and I challenge you to prove your worth." Eli's heart skipped a beat. A challenge from a creature like this. He had faced dangers before, but this was different. This was not a test of climbing cliffs or surviving storms. This was a test of combat against someone who had clearly trained for decades. He raised his hand slightly, trying to show he was not a threat. "I." But before he could finish, the warrior charged. Her movements were fast, precise, and deadly. Eli instinctively stepped aside, narrowly avoiding the strike of her energy blade. The weapon left a scorch mark on the ground where he had been standing moments before. Eli's mind raced. He had no weapon, no training for fighting someone like her, yet somehow he felt calm. He had faced impossible situations before, and somehow he always found a way. Then it happened. The warrior froze, mid-step, mid-swing, her glowing eyes widening in shock. Her weapon hovered in the air as if it had suddenly become heavy. Eli blinked, unsure of what he was seeing. She was staring at him, but not in anger, not in fear, something else. Recognition, surprise, Eli could not tell. Why are you?" she muttered, her voice trembling slightly. Eli frowned. "I'm sorry, I don't understand. What's wrong?" The alien's breathing quickened. She took a step back, still staring at him, as if the sight of him had disrupted everything she knew about the universe. Eli noticed a faint glow spreading across the lines on her armor. It was almost like the symbols themselves were reacting to him. Eli didn't move. He had learned long ago that when someone, or something, freezes in fear or surprise, sudden movement could make things worse. So he simply stood, letting her react, trying to show he meant no harm. "Human," she whispered finally, her voice filled with awe. You are not like the others. You carry something." Eli tilted his head, curiosity rising. "Something? I don't understand." The warrior's eyes darted toward the horizon, then back at him. "The legends, they said humans were weak, fragile, incapable of standing against us. But you are different." Eli still didn't understand, but he realized that whatever it was, it had shaken her completely. The other alien soldiers who had been hiding behind the outpost walls now stepped forward cautiously, weapons raised but hesitant. They were waiting for their warrior to act, but she remained frozen, still staring at Eli as if he were a puzzle she could not solve. For a moment there was silence. The wind whistled across the red rocks and the twin suns cast long shadows. Then slowly, Eli stepped forward. He did not raise a weapon, did not strike. He simply walked toward her, calmly and carefully, showing that he had no intention of fighting unless he had to. The alien warrior flinched slightly but did not attack. She lowered her weapon a fraction, still wary but no longer completely rigid. She began, her voice trembling with uncertainty. How do you? Eli shook his head gently. I don't know what you mean, I'm just me. But in truth, he did know something. Humans, even ordinary humans, carried a kind of strength that others often underestimated. It was not the strength of muscle, nor the power of advanced weapons. It was the strength of adaptability, of intelligence, of surviving impossible odds. Humans had faced challenges that other species could not even imagine, and somehow they survived. Somehow they found a way to turn weakness into strength. Eli could feel it now, the weight of that realization pressing gently in his chest. The warrior was not just afraid, she was realizing that her assumptions about humans were wrong. And in that moment, he understood something too. First impressions could be dangerous, and underestimating anyone, especially humans, was always a mistake. The warrior's eyes softened slightly, though suspicion still lingered. She lowered her weapon fully, taking a step back. You are unlike any human I have seen. Why are you here? Eli smiled faintly. To explore, to understand, and maybe to show that humans are more than they seem. For a moment the alien warrior said nothing. Then slowly she nodded. Not fully, not as a friend, but as someone beginning to reconsider everything she believed. Eli breathed a small sigh of relief. The immediate danger had passed, but the encounter had left him with more questions than answers. Who was this warrior? Why did she react this way? And what had she seen in him that made her freeze? He knew that the answers would come in time. For now, he simply stood on the alien world, feeling the strange energy in the air and the weight of the warrior's gaze. Something was changing here, something beyond his understanding, and he had a feeling that this meeting would mark the beginning of something far larger than either of them could imagine. As the twin suns dipped slightly toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the outpost, Eli took a step forward, ready for whatever came next. The alien warrior watched him, cautious but intrigued. And somewhere deep inside, both of them knew that this encounter was only the beginning of a story neither could have predicted. Eli and the alien warrior stood facing each other in the fading light. The twin suns of the planet were low in the sky now, casting long, flickering shadows across the outpost. The warrior, though still tall and imposing, seemed uncertain. Her weapon hung loosely in her hand, and her eyes, which had been sharp and unyielding moments ago, now shimmered with a mix of confusion and awe. Eli took a slow, careful step forward, keeping his hands visible and his posture calm. "I don't want to fight you," he said softly. "I'm just exploring, that's all." The warrior's gaze did not leave him. She shook her head slightly as if trying to dispel some impossible thought. "No," she said, her voice trembling just slightly. "It's not that simple. There is something in you. Something I do not understand. It is powerful, strange, dangerous." Eli frowned. "Powerful? I'm just human. There's nothing special about me." The warrior blinked as if she had expected him to deny it. Instead, there was a calm certainty in his tone, a quiet strength that made her hesitate. She lowered her weapon fully, almost imperceptibly. "Humans, your kind has long been thought weak, fragile, easily defeated, but you are different. You carry the mark of an ancient lineage, the strength, the skill, it is familiar to us." Eli's curiosity was piqued. "Ancient lineage? What do you mean?" She gestured to the patterns etched into her armor. The lines glowed faintly now, reacting to his presence. "Legends speak of humans who walked the stars long ago. Humans who were warriors, thinkers, strategists. Humans who could adapt in ways no other species could. You carry their essence, even if you do not know it yourself." Eli took a step closer, studying the symbols on her armor. He had heard stories of humans in galactic history, tales of explorers and warriors who had survived impossible odds, but they had seemed like myths, almost too extraordinary to be true. And yet, looking at the alien warrior's reaction, he realized that perhaps the legends were not exaggerations. Perhaps humans were truly capable of more than anyone suspected. The warrior's eyes narrowed as she studied him. Your movements, your calm. The way you react without hesitation, these are not traits of ordinary humans. I have fought many species, and none move like this. None react with such precision and awareness. It is as if you know exactly what will happen before it happens. Eli shrugged lightly, though he felt a flicker of pride. I've had to survive many situations before. I've learned to observe and think quickly, that's all. The warrior shook her head slowly. No, this is more than observation. It is instinct. It is history. It is power. The essence of your species, refined over thousands of years, preserved in your blood. You are remarkable. Her words were both a compliment and a warning. Eli realized that the warrior no longer saw him as weak or ordinary. She saw him as a challenge and perhaps as a potential ally, but he still did not understand the full reason behind her sudden reaction. "Why are you telling me this?" Eli asked carefully. "Why does it matter?" The warrior hesitated. "It matters because your kind humans can change the balance of power in the galaxy. You are underestimated by all other species. They see your size, your numbers, and dismiss you. They forget that humans adapt, learn, and survive where others fail. You may not realize it, but your presence here is a threat. To us, to them, to the galaxy itself." Eli's mind whirled. A threat. He had come to explore, not to fight wars or alter galactic power, and yet he could feel the truth in her words. Humans were underestimated. That had always been their strength, the ability to surprise, to innovate, to endure. He looked at the warrior with renewed curiosity. "So, you fear me because I'm human?" "Yes," she admitted, though the words sounded strange coming from her. "Not for your size or strength, but for what humans carry inside. Their minds, their courage, their unpredictability. You are dangerous because you are underestimated, and that is what makes humans the most dangerous species in the universe." Eli realized that this was not just a personal challenge. It was a recognition of the human species itself, of their place in a galaxy that often overlooked them. The warrior had expected weakness, and instead she had found resilience, intelligence, and courage. "Then what do you want from me?" Eli asked cautiously. The warrior's expression softened. "I do not want to harm you, not yet, but I must understand. I must know if humans truly deserve the place they claim in the galaxy, and perhaps if humans can be allies." Eli nodded slowly. He understood now that this encounter was not about a simple fight. It was about respect, understanding, and recognition, and humans had always thrived in moments where others doubted them. "Very well," Eli said, his voice calm but firm. "I will show you what humans are capable of, but not with weapons, not with violence, with understanding and action." The warrior studied him carefully. For the first time, her posture relaxed entirely. She lowered her weapon and gestured to the surrounding terrain. "Then show me," she said. "Show me your human ways. Let me see what is hidden beneath your surface. Let me understand why humans are feared." Eli smiled faintly. He stepped forward into the open, deliberately showing that he was not a threat. He began demonstrating small movements, dodging falling rocks, using the uneven terrain to maintain balance, reading the wind to anticipate shifts in dust and debris. He moved not as a trained soldier, but as someone who had survived by observing, learning, and adapting. The warrior's eyes widened. "Incredible," she murmured. "You are not just quick, you think. You react to what you see, what you sense before it even happens. It is as if your mind works faster than the universe itself." Eli laughed softly. "I just pay attention. That's all humans do. We survive by noticing things others do not, by thinking when others act without thought. The warrior's expression shifted from awe to respect. She began to take small, careful steps toward him, studying his movements. So it is not only instinct, it is skill. It is history. You carry the lessons of countless humans who survived where others fell. You are the essence of your species, concentrated into one body. Eli felt a strange pride. He had never thought of himself as extraordinary, but in the eyes of this alien warrior, he represented something far larger, something universal. Humans were underestimated, but that underestimation was their greatest strength. "Then you see it," the warrior said finally, lowering her weapon fully. "You are not weak. You are more than I expected. Humans are more than I expected." Eli nodded. "I see it too. Humans survive because we adapt, because we never give up. And because we keep moving forward, even when others think we cannot." For the first time, the warrior smiled, not in challenge but in acknowledgement. "Perhaps," she said, "there is hope that humans can stand with us, or even against those who underestimate them." "You are remarkable." The air between them shifted. What had begun as a challenge had turned into a moment of recognition, a silent agreement that humans were capable of far more than appearances suggested. Eli realized that this was only the beginning. The warrior had seen something in him that others would doubt until it was too late. As the twin suns dipped lower behind the horizon, casting long shadows over the rocky terrain, Eli and the warrior remained facing each other. Neither spoke, but both understood that something had changed. The warrior no longer saw him as weak. She saw him as a representative of a species that could surprise, endure, and triumph against the odds. Eli knew that the coming days would test them both. The warrior had knowledge, skill, and strength far beyond anything he had faced before. But he also carried the one thing that made humans remarkable, the ability to adapt, to think, and to endure. And in that quiet moment, under the strange amber sky of an alien world, Eli realized that humans were not just visitors in the galaxy, they were survivors. They were thinkers. They were warriors in their own way. And the alien warrior, for all her strength and experience, had just begun to understand that humans were a force unlike any other. The alien warrior, whose name Eli now learned was Kayla, stepped back from the outpost entrance, her weapon lowered but still at the ready. Her eyes, once filled with challenge and pride, now reflected a mixture of curiosity and caution. Eli could see the gears of her mind turning, analyzing, recalculating. She was no longer seeing him as a mere human. She was seeing him as something entirely different. Kayla's voice was steady, though a hint of surprise lingered. "If what you say is true, human, then perhaps you are not as fragile as I believed, but words mean nothing. Actions prove everything. Show me your human strength." Eli nodded slowly. He understood that this was more than a test of combat. It was a test of intelligence, ingenuity, and resilience, the core of what made humans remarkable. He took a deep breath and began moving deliberately across the rocky terrain, inviting Kayla to observe. She followed, circling him with precision, her armored boots striking the ground like distant drums. Each step was measured, a silent evaluation of his balance, his posture, his instinct. Then, without warning, she lunged. Eli didn't run. Instead, he sidestepped at the perfect moment, letting Kayla's momentum carry her forward. She paused, surprised that her strike had been anticipated so easily. Eli's movements were smooth, natural, yet calculated. Every motion seemed to anticipate the next. How do you?" Kayla began, her voice sharp but shaken. "I watch," Eli said simply. "I learn, I adapt, that's what humans do." Kayla blinked, her expression hardening into focus. She tried again, this time with faster, more precise strikes. Her energy blade hummed and shimmered as she moved, slicing through the air with incredible speed. But Eli was always one step ahead. He used his surroundings, the uneven ground, rocks, and debris, to shift, dodge, and anticipate. Each of her attacks met only empty air. For a moment, Kayla's face betrayed something she had never expected, respect mixed with disbelief. Her species had long believed humans were weak, incapable of complex strategy and combat. And yet here she was, facing a human who moved as though he could read her mind, responding to every feint, every strike without hesitation or panic. You are different, Kayla admitted, stepping back and lowering her weapon slightly. No human has ever moved like this. Predicted like this. You are extraordinary. Eli nodded, not out of pride but with quiet confidence. It's not magic. Humans survive because we think, we observe, and we act. We are unpredictable because we refuse to be limited. That's our strength. Kayla's eyes narrowed, considering him carefully. Then show me more, she said. Show me what humans are capable of, beyond simple movement. Show me why you are feared by those who underestimate you. Eli glanced around, noticing the uneven terrain of the outpost's courtyard. Rocks jutted from the ground and broken walls provided cover. He smiled faintly. Then watch carefully. He began to move differently now, using not just instinct but clever strategy. He dodged and twisted through gaps between rocks, lured Kayla into overextending herself, and even used her own momentum against her. At one point, he ducked behind a broken wall, then stepped out as she passed, forcing her to adjust her strike mid-swing. Each movement was deliberate yet natural, demonstrating not only physical ability but tactical thinking. Kayla's face shifted from surprise to admiration. You are not merely fast. You think. You plan. You see the battlefield as a whole. Humans, you are truly remarkable. Eli continued, showing her a human method of improvisation. He took a loose piece of metal from the ground and used it to prop a rock, creating a trap that redirected her attack harmlessly. Kayla stumbled slightly, astonished. She realized that humans could use intelligence as a weapon, something her species rarely accounted for in combat. Your species adapts too quickly, she admitted, lowering her weapon entirely now, though still tense. You are dangerous because you do not act like others. You do not fight like others. You use the environment you think you anticipate. This is what legend spoke of, but I never believed it until now. Eli paused, catching his breath. It's not legends, it's humans. We survive because we don't give up and we never stop learning. We don't rely on strength alone. Kayla studied him in silence. Her mind raced. She had trained all her life to defeat warriors far stronger than humans, yet here she was, outmatched in a way she could not fully understand. It was not her skill that failed her, it was her assumptions. She had underestimated humans, and that mistake had nearly cost her pride. Finally she spoke, her voice quieter, almost reverent. Perhaps humans are not what we thought. Perhaps we have judged your kind too harshly. Eli smiled. We often are, but that is exactly why humans survive. Others expect us to fail. Others expect us to be weak. And we prove them wrong. Kayla nodded slowly, her respect for him, and for humans, growing with every passing moment. She realized that humans were unpredictable not because of brute force, but because of ingenuity, courage, and adaptability. These were qualities her people had rarely faced outside their own species, and they were dangerous because no one could fully anticipate them. You may survive where others fail, Kayla admitted. Not because you are stronger, but because you are clever. You learn. You endure, you adapt. This is power, the power of humans. Eli's heart swelled with a quiet pride. He had not come to this planet to prove superiority or conquer anyone. He had come to explore, to understand, and now, unknowingly, he was showing Kayla, and perhaps all of her people, that humans were not to be underestimated. The warrior studied him, still cautious but clearly intrigued. Then what is your purpose here, human? Why do you come to worlds like this? Is it only exploration or something more? Eli looked around the outpost, at the crumbling walls and the distant horizon. "It is exploration," he said honestly, "but it is also to show that humans are more than they appear. We are capable of endurance, of thinking, of surviving. That is who we are." Kayla's expression softened. "I see it now. You are not like the others. You are the essence of your species, the proof of what humans can be. I have underestimated your kind for too long." Eli took a deep breath. He could sense that a turning point had arrived. What had begun as a challenge, a test of strength and will, had transformed into a revelation. Humans were more than their size or their weapons. They were thinkers, adapters, survivors. And Kayla had just begun to understand the full extent of their potential. The warrior lowered her weapon completely and stepped back, giving him space. "I do not know what will come next," she said, her tone thoughtful. "But I know now, humans are not to be dismissed. You are clever, resourceful, and dangerous in ways few understand." Eli smiled faintly. "That's all humans ever ask, to be seen for who we are. Not for what others expect us to be, but for what we truly are." Kayla nodded, her stance relaxing further. She had learned a lesson that few aliens ever did. Humans survive because they refuse to be limited. They endure because they think, adapt, and act. They are unpredictable, and that is their greatest strength. As the sun dipped fully below the horizon, casting the outpost in shadow, Eli and Kayla remained facing each other. Neither moved, but both understood that something fundamental had shifted. What had begun as a challenge of pride had become a lesson in respect, understanding, and recognition. Eli knew that the coming hours would bring further tests, but he also knew that he had already begun to change the way Kayla, and perhaps her entire species, perceived humans. They had underestimated him, but he had shown them the truth. Humans were more than they seemed. And in that quiet, shadowed moment, on a world far from Earth, Eli realized that humanity's strength lay not in muscle or weapons, but in mind, courage, and the ability to endure where others could not. Kayla studied him one last time before stepping back into the outpost. "You may survive," she whispered almost to herself, "and perhaps humans are destined for more than we imagined." Eli watched her retreat, feeling a sense of quiet satisfaction. The challenge was far from over, but he had proven what he needed to prove. Not through violence or force, but through intelligence, patience, and the unmistakable essence of humanity. And somewhere deep inside, both he and Kayla knew that the true test, the real story, was only beginning. The night had settled over the alien planet, casting shadows that stretched long across the red, jagged landscape. Eli stood near the outpost, his eyes following Kayla as she moved with careful precision through the courtyard. She was no longer hostile, but her posture remained alert. The alien warrior had seen enough to recognize the strength of humanity, yet she still tested him. "You have shown me much, human," Kayla said, her voice calm but firm. "You move, you think, you adapt, but words are not enough. I must see the full extent of your species. Tell me, what else can humans do?" Eli considered her words. He could have responded with force or demonstration, but humans' greatest strength was not just in action. It was in thought, in creativity, in the courage to face the unknown. He smiled faintly and gestured to the surrounding terrain. "Then watch. I will show you more than strength. I will show you humans' greatest qualities, ingenuity, resilience, and the ability to inspire others." Kayla's eyes narrowed with curiosity. "Inspire humans. You are not known for alliances beyond your kind." "That is exactly why you will see it," Eli replied. "Because we do not rely on assumptions. We connect, we adapt, we endure together. You will see." Eli began by moving through the rubble of the outpost, showing Kayla how humans could improvise solutions in real time. He used broken walls, fallen debris, and uneven rocks to create makeshift paths, demonstrating how obstacles could become opportunities. Every movement was deliberate, yet natural, highlighting not only survival skills but strategic thinking. Kayla followed cautiously, observing every detail. She tried to mimic his movements, testing him once more with a sudden lunge, but Eli had anticipated it. He sidestepped, then used a loose stone to deflect her strike harmlessly. It was not brute force that won this time, it was creativity and foresight. "You, again," Kayla exclaimed, her voice a mix of frustration and admiration. "How do you anticipate everything? How do humans survive like this?" Eli chuckled softly. "We survive by thinking ahead, by learning from everything around us. We don't fight blindly. We adapt, and we never give up." Kayla studied him in silence. She realized that humans did not need to match aliens in size or weaponry. Their greatest weapon was their mind, their courage, and their ability to connect action with thought. This lesson, which had taken her entire life to understand, now unfolded before her eyes in a single human being. Eli then began to demonstrate human ingenuity in another way. He noticed a small crevice in the ground, partially hidden by rocks, and crawled into it. From there, he emerged in a position Kayla had not anticipated, forcing her to adjust her stance. "You see," he said, "we use what we have. We make the impossible possible with whatever we find." Kayla's eyes widened. She had fought countless species, each relying on strength, numbers, or technology. None had shown her adaptability like this. None had surprised her in such a way. Humans were unpredictable, resourceful, and endlessly creative. "Your species," she murmured, lowering her weapon fully now, "is more than I imagined. You are clever, you endure, and you inspire fear not through power but through ingenuity." Eli smiled faintly. "Fear is not what humans aim for. We aim to survive, to endure, to make a difference. Fear is a byproduct when others underestimate us. It is proof that we can overcome challenges they thought impossible." Kayla nodded slowly, beginning to understand. She realized that humans had faced threats far greater than she could imagine. They had survived environmental catastrophes, predatory species, and countless conflicts on their home world. Their ability to endure, adapt, and innovate had carried them across the stars. You carry history within you," Kayla said softly, almost reverently. "You are the embodiment of all humans. Your actions, your thoughts, they tell of a species that refuses to be limited." Eli felt a quiet pride. He had not come to this planet to prove superiority or to fight wars. He had come to explore, to understand, and to demonstrate what humans were capable of. And now, Kayla, one of the most skilled warriors he had ever encountered, was witnessing the truth. Humans were underestimated, yes, but their potential was limitless. The warrior took a step closer, her expression thoughtful. "If humans are like you," she said slowly, "then perhaps your kind deserves a place among the greatest species of the galaxy. Not for power, not for conquest, but for ingenuity, resilience, and heart." Eli nodded. "That is all we ask, to be seen for what we truly are, not what others assume, to be recognized for our courage, intelligence, and ability to endure the impossible." For a moment, silence fell over the outpost. The twin suns had disappeared completely, leaving only the pale glow of distant stars. Eli and Kayla stood facing each other, a human and an alien warrior, separated by species but united in understanding. "You have changed my perspective," Kayla admitted. "I challenged you thinking humans were weak. I expected arrogance, failure, or fear. Instead, I see respect, ingenuity, and strength. Perhaps humans are the species that will surprise the galaxy." Eli smiled. "We often do. We survive where others fail, not because we are stronger, but because we refuse to give up. That is the power of humanity." Kayla's eyes softened with respect. She lowered her weapon completely and extended a hand, not in challenge but in acknowledgement. "Then let this be the beginning," she said. "Humans and the Valari may be different, but we can learn from each other. We can stand together or face threats with understanding rather than underestimation." Eli took her hand, shaking it firmly. "That is exactly what humans do. We face challenges, we adapt, and we build alliances when others doubt us. That is how we survive and how we thrive. The moment marked a new beginning. What had started as a challenge of strength and pride had transformed into a recognition of humanity's true potential. Kayla now understood that humans were more than their physical form. They were thinkers, innovators, and survivors. And Eli had demonstrated that in a way no words could have conveyed. The night grew darker, but the bond between them shone brighter than any twin sun. Kayla had seen the essence of humanity, and Eli had proven it without a single act of violence. The story of that encounter would echo in the Valari outpost for generations, a lesson about the species that others had underestimated for too long. "Remember this, Kayla," Eli said softly as he began to move back toward the horizon. "Humans endure, humans adapt, humans surprise, and sometimes that is more powerful than any weapon you can hold." Kayla watched him disappear into the darkness, her mind racing. She had seen the truth of humans, not fragile, not weak, but capable of extraordinary feats through intelligence, courage, and endurance. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, and now she knew better. As Eli vanished from sight, the warrior whispered to herself, a smile forming on her lips. "Humans, indeed, they are a force unlike any other. I will not forget this day, and perhaps the galaxy will learn to respect them as I now do." Eli's journey continued, and so did the legacy of humanity. Every step he took left a mark, not just on the alien world, but in the perception of all who witnessed him. Humans were underestimated, yes, but they were resilient, clever, and unstoppable in ways the universe had yet to understand. And somewhere, far above the horizon, the twin suns rose again on another world, signaling the dawn of new possibilities, for humans, for Kayla, and for a galaxy that was only beginning to recognize the extraordinary potential of humanity.